Well, that's good. You're listening to PHLY Flyers postgame, brought to you by Mortgage CS. My name is Bill Matz. I'm your director of fun and games for the evening. Let's get a few more woos for a 5-game winning streak. Woo, 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 woo. All right, that's enough of that. It's really difficult to keep this going, but they're like 3-0 since we started doing the mask thing. And who am I to interrupt a hot streak? Of course, this is PHLY Flyers Post Game presented by Mortgage CS. Check out mortgagecs.com/PHLY to start your home buying process today. Company NMLS ID number 1464766. We have to get right into this one. I don't even really know where to start. This was an exciting win for the Flyers. Like I said, 5 in a row. Things are going well for the Fly guys right now, and I'm going to ask Charlie again, has a rebuilding team ever won the Stanley Cup? Like, if right now they're contenders, what are they building to? Like, dynasty? Dynasty is the goal? It must be. They just absolutely dismantled the Dallas Stars. And Dallas, it's not as if they're in some downturn. Now, yes, they're missing Miro Heiskanen. So before we get into all that, I know that they're missing an all-star caliber player, a Norris-level defenseman throughout his career. But the Flyers don't have one of those, and they've been missing guys plenty. It's not as if the Stars lack star power. Joe Pavelski lack star power. Can't think of anyone's name. But no, obviously the ageless Joe Pavelski, Jason Robertson, young star in this game, Tyler Seguin, always kills the Flyers. Jamie Benn continues to be dangerous. And the Flyers just absolutely dismantled them. The score is one thing. It's indicative of what happened in this game, 5-1, as we saw with the shot total. 43-15. They gave up one shot in the first period. Just absolute freaking domination in this one. It's hard not to be excited about what these Flyers are right now. I got a series of tweets about the last show we did where we talked a lot about the idea of the Flyers potentially re-signing Nic Deslauriers. And we talked more in like the broad scope of, like, is that how you handle a rebuild? Is that what is best for this franchise long term? And while I still hold to the idea that, like, probably, yeah, you should trade Nic Deslauriers, the person who tweeted me said there's just too much focus on the future right now when the team is really, really good. And I got to say, I agree. I agree with that person who kind of, while we're always going to focus on the rebuild because that's what the front office says the focus is. So we're always going to have an eye on the future as well. I've been trying to say, man, you got to buy the ticket, take the ride with this team. You just got to get on board and see how this season happens because it's almost like free money. We as fans, if you're in on this season, I feel like we as fans are playing with house money and we're getting enjoyable, really good winning hockey when I was not expecting it. I was not counting on it. And even the first couple of months of this season, I had an eye on, like, okay, and when things start to go south, because obviously they will. Now, listen, you look at the standings, Flyers right now, second in the Metro, couple points behind the Rangers. But you look at the whole Metro, you look at the whole East, there's like a couple of teams at the very top, a couple of teams at the very bottom, and basically everyone else has the same record. Like a few bad weeks from the Flyers, we could be singing a different tune, but there's just absolutely no reason to think of that as inevitable right now because they keep giving us reason to believe that this is real, what we're seeing. First couple of shifts tonight kind of looked like I'm talking like first literally 30 seconds, 90 seconds of this game. Kind of looked like the Stars had the jump. They came out, had a few chances, only the one shot. Sagan had the scoring chance 30 seconds into the game. That turned out to be their only shot of the first period. And then the Flyers just kind of took over. And I want to ask Charlie what it is he sees this team doing that's, allowed them to keep a team with the offensive talent, the offensive firepower that the Stars have, to 14 shots in a game. What they've done over the last couple of weeks. This was how many straight with 35 shots on goal? I think they said 9 straight games with 35 shots on goal. They are killing it right now. There's no other way to put it. I wish I had more of a analytical take for you. I'm sure we'll get some out of Charlie, but excitement should be the only thing we're feeling for this team right now, especially considering, and I know we have, looking at our numbers, like we had good shows, like immediately following the Eagles season ending, even one on the night the season ended, we still had a pretty damn good audience. We've always had hockey-only fans and out-of-town fans, maybe who don't care about the other sports in town. But I'm a 4-for-4 guy. I am all in on all the teams, and so too are many of our listeners. If this isn't the pick-me-up you needed, my God, it's just making me feel better about everything that's gone on in Philadelphia sports. Basically since the end of Game 6 of the 2023 World Series, to be quite honest with you. So where to start tonight? I guess we need to start with Owen Tippett. He would be my first star of the game. We'll get Charlie's 3 stars of the game. I bet you Owen Tippett factors in if he's not the overall first star. I would guess he has 2 goals, both of them absolute beauties tonight. He scored in 5 of the last 6 games. 2 tonight gives him 18 on the season. Something I absolutely loved about his goals tonight, just little thing. Scored in 2 different ways. Stepped into a wrister, top of the circle, off the face-off, shelved an absolute seed over Jake Ottinger, and then on the rush, one-on-one, makes a spin move and beats Ottinger upstairs with a backhand. I mean, if this dude figures out ways to score consistently outside of, well, I have a great shot, I'm just going to rip a great shot, he is going to be that 40-goal scorer we thought he was going to be at the beginning of this season. Charlie O'Connor earlier this week published an article with grades. He did his mid-season, report card for all of the Flyers. He put out one for all the forwards. I believe the defenseman has come out, but maybe it's not out yet. But I'm going to ask him about 3 guys in particular tonight from his forwards column. And it starts with Owen Tippett, who he graded a B for the first half of the season. Since that official first half mark, the guy's been on an absolute freaking tear. I wonder if Charlie'd be thinking, if the halfway point was like game 45 or 50, would I be giving this guy an A? I absolutely think he's worthy of it now. And, it's like thinking about Owen Tippett, the conversation so much about him has been, what's the next step for this guy? What else does he have to do? And, for a while, it was like, I bet he finishes the season with the same 27-ish goals he had last year, and it's going to be the other part of his games coming along. Early in this game, I had the thought, with his speed, his size, his puck skill, should he not be like the world's best forechecker too? Like, would that not be a thing he should be doing? Like, first man in the zone, get that puck and work it so he can create himself a scoring chance. But what if the next part of his game is scoring even freaking more, and he takes himself from that 27 to 30 range into that 40 range, and suddenly, man, I know we talk about the Giroux trade, like that's a win. That Giroux trade was a win flat out. It might end up being an all-timer. And I've said this so many times, I'm almost tired of saying it, but I think it's a good joke, so I'm going to say it again. I was, for almost about a year, opening up my thesaurus before episodes of Broad Street Hockey, trying to find synonyms for idiot because I was tired of repeating myself about Chuck Fletcher. Damn if he didn't kill that trade, man. A first-round pick that we still haven't made, and Owen Tippett, who has got 18 goals already this season, goals in 5 of his last 6. He is absolutely dominant right now. I'm interested to see what Charlie thinks is the next step for him. We're going to talk about some of those grades that he handed out when he does, in fact, join the show. But right now, I got to tell you about my friends, our presenting sponsor, Mortgage CS. Mortgage CS, what's it stand for? I've told you plenty already, but it bears repeating. Mortgage Concierge Service means they're a white glove service. Their focus, their number one goal is to make you happy, man. It's all about the customer service right there for them. That's why Ben Stucker, CEO, he's allowing us to put his phone number on our screen right now. If you're listening on Podform, 267-391-7425. Not only will Ben just bullshit with you about all the goings on in Philly sports, maybe don't even talk to him about the Eagles. Ask him about Owen Tippett. Ask him, does this dude have the ability to score maybe 50 goals one day? I bet you Ben will get back to you, but he doesn't just get back to you about sports. No, it's everything you need to know about the home buying process. I've told you plenty about my experience. I wish I had Mortgage CS when I was going to buy a home because I had no idea what I was doing. You know who does? Ben and Alec at Mortgage CS, they are the experts in this field. They can walk you through it step by step, whether you're trying to get prepared to enter the market, you're in the market and you're not quite sure about your current lender, whatever it might be. Mortgage CS has the expertise to get you from where you are to where you want to be. When you hear the word mortgage, think of Mortgage CS. Think of Ben and his partner, Alec. Save the telephone number, which I gave you earlier. You can even email Ben at mortgagecs.com. Call or text him anytime, day or night. Talk about your home buying, talk about Philly sports, whatever you want. And check out mortgagecs.com/PHLY to get started. This advertisement is not a commitment to lend or extend credit. Mortgage CS is an equal housing opportunity mortgage broker. All loans are subject to credit approval. Certain restrictions may apply. Company NMLS ID number 1464766. Visit mortgagecs.com/PHLY for more information. All right, we got one of the reads out of the way, and I'm just so excited. I want to get to all the fun stuff that happened tonight because that was an ass kicking the Flyers were able to hand the Dallas Stars. And you go back to earlier this season when they went to Dallas, they end up losing 5-4 in overtime. And JJ on the broadcast even mentioned they kind of took it to him in that game too. They lost 5-4, but not the best goaltending, kind of a weird back and forth game. The Flyers scored 3 shorties in that game, and it didn't quite work out for them. And now they just seem to be firing on all cylinders where we're no longer talking about, oh, well, this was actually the perfect rebuild game. They looked really good. Guys stepped up, but they lost, and that's fun. No, they played great. All 3 zones. The goalie was good, even though he had his limited action. He made big saves when he had to, and they come away with another 2 big points. That's exciting. So we're going to talk about Owen Tippett. I haven't asked Charlie about this. So he told me he was going to ask about the Tippett using Konechny stick thing next time he got the chance. I haven't asked him if he's had that chance yet, but things working. So I want to know if TK is charging Owen Tippett. Maybe he's like writing him IOUs based on the contract he's going to get this summer, that probably $6+ million or so that Owen Tippett's putting him in line for. But we'll talk to Charlie when he joins the show. Another dude who has just absolutely stepped up of late, Morgan Frost, came in with jump once again, was one of the guys who looked strong from the very beginning, and he gets a beautiful assist at some of that hockey IQ showing itself on Sean Walker's first period goal, picks up a second assist by going to the net and getting his stick on the puck that ultimately Cam Atkinson put in on the power play. But I just go back to that January 4th scratch that John Tortorella decided, Morgan Frost, it's you again. I'm calling your number to be up in the press box. You're not playing. And since then, he's been on fire. 7 points in 7 games since then. Of course, the 2 assists tonight. I don't know if he's doing a few little things differently. He's not nearly as allergic to contact as he was. You can see him going into the boards, getting in there first to win puck battles. You see him going to the front of the net, like I said, to pick up the assist tonight, things that maybe were missing from his game. So much of it seems to be confidence, though. A little bit of a success for this guy leads to him having the confidence to make more of those high skill plays that he was drafted to make. Yes, he was a late first round pick, but he was still a first round pick who was brought in here to create offense for this team, to use that puck skill he has, to use that vision, that passing ability, especially to set this team up for scoring chances. And suddenly we are seeing that in abundance with Morgan Frost, another guy whose grade I'm interested in discussing with Charlie. He gave him a B- when he wrote the article. Since then, he's looked like an A-level player. So I'm really excited to talk about not only, and this is where we get into the future conversation. Yes, tonight and this season, it's huge what we're seeing out of Morgan Frost, but I have long been of the opinion it almost doesn't matter what Frost does because the head coach, who seems to have quite a bit of say in this thing, doesn't see whatever he needs to see from a player to be part of this thing in Morgan Frost. That's changing. It absolutely has to be changing. Tortorella today, prior to the game, I think it was during morning skate during his availability, pointed out Morgan Frost specifically, just said, since the guy came into my office, he just has had a different attitude. And maybe that's what Tortorella has been trying to get out of Frost all along, and it took a year and a half for it to really click. Maybe it was just pushing Frost to a breaking point of, I have to go argue with this guy because I actually think he's wrong now. It's one thing to be a team player and not want to cause an issue in the locker room, especially this season when the team's winning so much. But it just seems as if he's reached a different level, and maybe, just maybe, we can credit Big Bad John Tortorella, who I know a lot of people, I wonder why Cutter Gauthier didn't want to play for the Flyers when that asshole is the coach. Well, you look at the guys who've bought in, whether it's TK since last season, Morgan Frost recently, Owen Tippett finding another level, obviously Sanheim. You see Sean Walker score again tonight. He's picking his offense back up after a bit of a lull. We can go down the roster and name guys who are stepping up, becoming a better player than they were before John Tortorella got here. And I got to say, if you're afraid to play for John Tortorella, you might just not have what it takes. That's what it comes down to. And it looked for a little bit, maybe Morgan Frost was just not going to be a guy who had what it took to play for John Tortorella. Shit, if it doesn't look like he's that kind of guy now. He's one of the most productive players on this team, even with the low-end production he had in the first part of this season. Going back to the second half of last year, it's hard to argue with Frost's production, and he seems to be taking his game to another level, and it's going to be about constantly improving for him. I don't think he's in a place where if he has a bad week, Torts is going to go, oh, well, he's earned himself some time. I can absolutely see if things start to dip again for Frost, he finds himself back in that press box. But maybe that's the motivation Frost needs to show that he's this level of player and that he has cemented himself in. Bobby Brink, not in the lineup tonight. And a couple of games ago when they're in Minnesota in his home state, John Tortorella said, yeah, this was a tough decision, but Bobby Brink has not cemented himself as an everyday NHL player yet. It seems maybe it took a little longer than any of us wanted to. It seems like Morgan Frost has got himself to that level, and so I just have to ask, he's going to be a part of this thing, isn't he? I didn't think that was going to be the case. I really thought if Morgan Frost makes it somewhere else, if he becomes the next Justin Williams or Patrick Sharp, it's just going to be a tip of the cap to Morgan Frost. He wasn't going to do it here. He's doing it here, man. He's proven me wrong. He might be proving John Tortorella wrong, and he's maybe proving the organization right, specifically Danny Briere, who has had a lot of confidence in Morgan Frost. We've heard, if there are two opinions in this organization on Frost, it's, well, the Briere and his camp think that he has something. And Tortorella, it's like, well, maybe not so much. He's proven the doubters wrong right now. I hope the kid keeps it up. I would love to see Morgan Frost be a part of this thing. If for no other reason, it's one less dude the Flyers have to go find somewhere else. If he is a productive 3C for this team, that's something you really need. What are teams, cup contending teams, what are they always looking for at the deadline? They usually have their top end guys. How can we get better? We can make our depth better. Morgan Frost looks like a great depth player. You look at a team like the Toronto Maple Leafs. That's been their problem for years. I mean, you see the Leafs in playoff games and go, all their stars score. You know, do they need to score twice as much to win? But all their stars do what they do. They get absolutely no depth scoring. That's what the Flyers are getting right now, and they're getting it out of Morgan Frost. They would kill for a guy like him, and the Flyers have it. It's very, very encouraging, and to go along with I guess the two things probably have quite a bit to do with each other. The power play. It's not a shock to me that Morgan Frost looks good, and so too does the power play. 6 power play goals in the last 7 games for the Flyers, 29% over that time frame. We have been begging for, listen, I don't need them to be a 30% team. I don't need them to be the best power play in hockey. I need base level competence. I'm talking 17, 18, 19%, not the 9 and 10 that we've been getting for the first half of this season. 29 is pretty fucking good, man. They go 1 for 4 tonight, brings their percentage actually down over the last 7 games with that 25%. They're at 30 coming in, but 29%, that's great. And yes, the addition of Jamie Drysdale has obviously probably bolstered it a little bit, but Drysdale missed the last couple of games, and Morgan Frost comes in, gets that power play assist tonight. You're just seeing things start to come together. And I guess that's really the change in conversation we're having about this team is even a couple of weeks ago, I thought we're probably going to start seeing things decline. As teams start to turn it on, John Tortorella said you don't really know what you have until the end of January. Teams really start to turn it on and focus as they prepare for an actual playoff run. This thing's going to be decided in the last few months. I figured, okay, as other teams lift their level, the level the Flyers are at, that's what they are. They don't have another gear, and when teams start to match them, talent will win out and the Flyers will start to decline. They're getting better, man. Holding a team, I don't care who the Dallas Stars were missing. Holding any team in the NHL to 14, 15 shots on goal is absolutely freaking impressive. And I am excited about where this thing can go, dude. I don't know what else to say about this team right now other than buy that ticket, take that ride. I've been trying to make that a thing. But whenever I come up with phrases like that, and it's not like a phrase I came up with. I stole it from Hunter Thompson. But whenever I come up with taglines, I always forget them after a show or two. And then it's like, well, so much for that. But that's what I'm advocating for with this team. Buy the ticket, take the ride. And now it is time to talk to Philadelphia's #1 hockey beat reporter. It is Charlie O'Connor. Charlie, can you hear me?
I can hear you, Bill. How you doing?
Woo! We have Charlie O'Connor tonight. Buddy, I am flying high. It's hard to even know where to begin tonight because this was such an impressive game in my mind. You hold the Stars. 1 shot in the first period, 14 for the game. This is not the Montreal Canadiens. They come out and dominate the Habs. Cool. Who cares? That's a shit team. The Stars are really freaking good with or without Miro Heiskanen. So I guess my first question is, what are they doing that enables them to limit to the Stars to 1 shot in the first, 4 through 30 minutes, 14 through the game? What is it that this team does specifically that shuts down opposing offenses?
Well, I think the seeds of this game, at least the way that they won this game, were kind of planted about a month ago. If you think back, they lost to the Nashville Predators 4-2. They were in the midst of a pretty good run, and that game apparently really concerned John Tortorella. John Tortorella came up in front of the media after the game and basically said, this team is going to need to learn how to forecheck. That I know we've been scoring a ton of goals off the rush. I know that's been the bulk of our offense so far, and that's good. But there are some games where you're going to have to go in there and you're just going to have to win a game by forechecking. And over that next couple weeks, the Flyers struggled. And I think what you saw was the byproduct of a team that had let some of their habits slip. They were not having the same attention to detail. They were maybe over relying on the rush a bit because they were so excited about how well it was working. And it was just like, well, we can just game the zone with control every time and try to score every goal that way and do that on every play. And I think that it took them a while to kind of recalibrate. But I do believe that Tortorella and the coaching staff recognized an issue and basically were like, all right, guys, the rush is great, but we need to forecheck sometime. I thought in the first period tonight, they owned this game via the forecheck. Dallas is a great team. They're a really good team. John Tortorella actually, after the game, said that he thinks, which is, I mean, it's honestly the perfect thing to say after you beat a team 5-1 because it makes you seem even better for doing it. But John Tortorella said he thinks the Dallas Stars are the best team in the league. Regardless of where they are in the standings, he looks at their lineup, their roster, and he thinks they are the best team in hockey. This was going to be a really tough game, and I think what the Flyers did in this game was they just forechecked them to death. And by forecheck, I don't necessarily mean they dumped it in every time and then just like spent the entire game in the corner. They checked this team hard. They gave them no space. They gave them no time. Their sticks were all over the place. They were blocking shots. They were closing gaps real tight. They were killing plays in the neutral zone. This was a forechecking clinic by the Philadelphia Flyers. And it's not that I think that doubt the Flyers are this much better than the Stars. I think that the Stars may have honestly been a little surprised that the Flyers were this tenacious in their checking. But this is the way the Flyers will have to perform against teams like the Stars if they want to do this, because you're not going to win a trade chances battle with the Stars the same way that you can win it. Like when they played St. Louis in the final game of that road trip, they traded chances with the Blues. And it was just that the Flyers are more talented than the Blues. The Blues are not a good team. If they tried to play that game against the Stars, they would have probably lost 7-5. Instead, they play a forecheck-centric game, the game that John Tortorella a month ago told them they were going to have to learn how to play if they want to win games in January and February and March, and they took the Stars to the cleaners. And I just don't think the Stars are ready for it.
It's, buddy, I am pumped by this win. Like, I feel something about this team after this win now. I know you and I talked about, like, when you look at the standings, like a couple of bad weeks, it's a totally different conversation. But as I keep seeing this season go along, I just don't feel the inevitable dip coming the way I did maybe even a few games ago. When I see adversity happen, I'm watching them now like respond to it and ultimately overcome it. And that's a really, really good sign. I don't know if this team can win the freaking Stanley Cup. I doubt it. But dumb shit happens sometimes, That's all I'm saying, Chuck. I don't need you to respond to that because I know it's insanity. I'm just saying. You wrote a couple of columns this week grading, giving out your midseason grades for guys. And I want to talk about 3 of the forwards specifically. Don't worry, not giving away all your content. Go to allphly.com. Make sure you read Charlie's stuff. It's always dope. But I want to start tonight with Owen Tippett, and I actually think we have some of the player cards. I want to see if we can do this graphics wise for you. You give Owen Tippett for his midseason grade a B, which B's get degrees, as I always said. That's not quite it. There it is, right there. Now he's scored a goal in 5 of the last 6 games. 2 goals tonight to get to 18 on the season. We talk about what the next step is for him. And during the early portion of this game tonight, just a thought in my head, like, this dude has all the speed in the world. He's big, and he's got some outstanding puck skill, as we saw on display tonight. He should be an absolute phenom on the forecheck, along with being, like, the goal-scoring threat that he is. Maybe that's the next level of his game. Watching what he did tonight and score in 2 vastly different ways, both impressive, is the next level of his game 40-plus goal score. Like, it's actually real now. You can actually see that, he can be that guy. Is that what you see in him?
I mean, I think everybody sees it in him. I asked Scott Lawton after the game. I basically said, look, everybody knows that Owen Tippett's a good player. It's no secret. He's good. But when you watch him and you see him do things like he did tonight, like he did in St. Louis, do you see a guy who you think can be an all-star? And he said, absolutely. You watch him on the bench and basically said, like, there are times where, he will just go end to end and might not even score a goal on the play, but he just carries the puck through the entire opposing team from deep in the defensive zone all the way to the net. And Lawton will just sit back and be like, this kid is freaking good. And I think Tortorella sees it. I think they all see it. Like, and look, who knows if Owen Tippett is going to take? Because to me, with Tippett, it's not about whether he has the talent. Everybody knows he has the talent. You watch these games, you can see he has the talent. You don't make a play like the one he made in the third period tonight. You don't score a goal like that if you don't have high end talent. There's a reason why the guy was drafted as high as he was. The thing with Tippett is, can he do it 9 games out of 10 rather than just 3 or 4 games out of 10? And that's going to be the question. And as exciting as his hot streak is, this doesn't tell you that he definitely can do that. Guys are streaky. Goal scorers are streaky. Almost every player is streaky. Right now, Owen Tippett is on an extreme hot streak where he is just feeling it. He's feeling like he can do anything that he wants with the puck right now, and that's great. The ability's there. We know the ability's there. Now it just comes down to whether he can do it night after night after night. Now, over these last couple weeks, he's been doing it night after night after night. 2 weeks does not a season make. 2 weeks is not a career make. The reason why I gave him a B is because I know he has another gear. Everyone knows he has another gear. And for the first 2 months of the season, everyone on social media was complaining about how much he missed the net. I was literally having a conversation with people in the media room today at Morning Skate about how much Owen Tippett misses the net and how much better he would be if he hit the net. Like, Owen Tippett has another gear. What he's showing us over this stretch is that gear. But the question is whether he can provide that gear in 80% of games rather than 30% of games. That's what's going to decide whether he takes that leap. Right now, he's clearly a 30-goal scorer. I know he had 27 last year, but he's a 30-goal scorer. He's a guy you can depend upon for 30 goals. If he wants to be a 40-goal scorer, a 50-goal scorer even, he's going to have games like this on the regular. I think he can do it. I think he has the ability. But consistency and ability, in my mind, it's the whole thing of being a high variance player. I just think that he needs to show over the course of a full season that he can do this more often than not. So far, he's showing us he can do it. Now he needs to show us he can do it consistently.
All right. Since you mentioned the missing the net stuff, I have to ask: did you get any more information? I know Tortorella kind of mentioned it today at Morning Skate, the switching of the stick. Have you got any further information on that? The using the Travis Konechny stick helping his game whatsoever? Do you have anything else on that? Have you been able to talk to anyone about it?
No. So basically, my guess is keep an eye out on the Inquirer, because basically what happened was that by the time we got into the locker room, Owen Tippett had already taken off his equipment and was away. Jackie from the Inquirer asked for, can I have Owen Tippett back with a one-on-one? It seemed like her angle was about the stick. I wasn't going to jump into her one-on-one, especially when she asked first. So She's probably going to get that story first.
I thought it was interesting that it came up today, and I could have asked you before the show, but it's more fun when we just do shit live and I don't know the answers. But I will say, going back to that St. Louis game, 11 attempts, 10 were on goal. Tonight he had 8 attempts, obviously the 2 scores. Now, 2 of his shots got blocked. I guess you want to try to find a way to get those through, but of his 8 attempts, only 1 missed the net tonight. And that's 2 games in a row where he's credited with only 1 miss, and he's shooting a ton. That seems to be a real nice step in the right direction for Owen Tippett. I hope he's able to keep that going consistently, because a dude with this skill set, if he just gets that many shots on goal regularly, he's going to score all the time. He's that good. We can see it when it happens. That's what that next level is.
Another thing I want to point out with Owen Tippett too, and this is something I was talking about in the press room today with Jim Jackson and Brian Boucher, is that another thing that will allow Owen Tippett to score more goals is just getting more minutes. He's not averaging that many minutes this year. He's averaging fewer minutes than last year. If you look at his all situations shot volume metrics, in terms of shot attempts per 60, and this is all situations, this isn't just 5-on-5, this is every situation. In terms of shot attempts per 60 this year, He entered tonight's game second in the NHL, only to David Pastrnak, in terms of, and you could say, oh, yeah, but he misses the net so much. Okay, he does miss the net a fair amount. However, if you're just looking at shots on goal for 60, he is third in the NHL, behind only David Pastrnak and Brady Tkachuk. He puts a lot of shots on net given the amount of time he's on the ice. If you start giving him 18, 19 minutes a night instead of 15, 16 minutes a night, those goal numbers are going to go up naturally just because he's going to go by pure volume. And as long as he keeps shooting this much and as long as he keeps hitting the net this much, he's going to score more naturally. And then if he gets more accurate, and if this is the new Owen Tippett, then suddenly the sky truly is the limit.
Another guy I was excited to talk to you about tonight, and luckily he gave us a reason to. It's Morgan Frost, who you graded out as a B- for your midseason grade. I thought he was one of the dudes who showed a lot of jump early tonight. I thought his maybe 4 or 5 minutes into the game, he had a shift that I really thought got the team going. Like from there, they kind of never really looked back. Picks up a couple of assists. The first one, the beautiful play to Sean Walker to set up that first period goal. Also got his stick on a puck that ultimately led to the Cam Atkinson goal. 2 assists tonight, 7 points in his last 7 games. And that is, of course, since his last scratching on January 4th, he has those 7 points in 7 games. What can you tell me about what you saw from Morgan Frost tonight?
I thought he was the best player on the ice for the Flyers. Full stop. There's a reason why he was my number 1 star. I had the star duties at the Wells Fargo Center, so I will just basically be repeating them when you ask me for my 3 stars. I thought he was the best player on the ice. As great as Owen Tippett was, that highlight reel goal, that's a garbage time goal. It's awesome. It's one that's going to, I think Scott Lawton said that the guys in the locker room afterwards referred to it as a Sports Center top 10 goal. It was fun. It was awesome. It'll be on the highlight reels. It doesn't really matter that they won 5-1 instead of 4-1. What matters is getting that goal at the end of the first period when you are a minute away from not taking advantage of a massive shot differential edge and possibly going into the first intermission tied 0-0 when you know you dramatically outplay the other team. You know what also is important? Setting up the goal at the start of the third period when the other team, they know they've been outplayed for 40 minutes. All they have to do is survive a minute or so of a power play to start the third, and then suddenly you start thinking, man, we don't deserve to be in this game, but we are. And we get one good bounce, and suddenly we might be able to steal this one. Morgan Frost was a major part of setting up that Cam Atkinson goal. I thought from a leverage standpoint, Morgan Frost made the most important plays in this game. And I thought on the whole, from start to finish, like Tippett had a couple great plays. Morgan Frost had a great game. I thought he was stellar tonight.
I absolutely did too. So I got to ask the question: Is he playing differently in your mind, or maybe like we always hear as young players make their way through the league, they improve because they see it and like the game slows down for them. Do you think he has like changed the way he's playing, or maybe he just has enough experience now to know what to do more often? Like what has led to this Morgan Frost seemingly taking his game to another level? Because even last year in those final 55 games, we've talked about this before, but like, okay, he's putting up points. He seems to be, he seems to have some pretty good chemistry with Owen Tippett. But if you were to look at those two guys, it was like, well, Tippett's taking over games, and Morgan Frost, when you look at the box score at the end, it's like, oh, he had a point tonight. Nice. Like, he looks like a different guy to me. What is he doing differently?
I think it's just confidence. I really do. To me, the biggest thing I've noticed over the last few games, especially in terms of what's been different now versus what it was like in the first couple months of the season, is just the pace he was playing at. And we've talked about this. We talked about this in the post game show after the St. Louis game. I thought I saw that again tonight. He's just playing faster. You said about, is the game slowing down for him? I mean, maybe it is, but I think the game is speeding up for him in the sense that he's doing everything quicker. He's attacking with control of the puck quicker. He's making decisions quicker. That pass to Walker tonight I thought was amazing. Like, it wasn't totally no look. He said he saw him out of the corner of his eye when he turned to get the puck, but I mean, he didn't have a lot of view of him. And that pass is a perfect pass right to a guy to set up a breakaway. Score a key goal for the team. I think it's confidence. I think he's just feeling good about himself. And we talk about the impact of a scratch, and I don't think it was a case of I got scratched and now I'm ready to go. But I do think the combination of him having that meeting with Tortorella, then him having a really good game right after, and then Tortorella being like, this is exactly what I wanted from Morgan Frost. Like, I don't know. There's an element here where it's just like Frost finally got the praise from Daddy that he's been waiting for his entire life, and now it's just like, now I can just go. Like, I've been trying to get this approval for a year and a half from this guy. He finally gave it to me, and it's almost like he's just playing with a weight lifted off his shoulders right now.
No, that's absolutely what it is. And earlier in the show, I said, like, it seems as if the confidence, like, some success for Morgan Frost then leads to him being willing, like having the confidence to attempt high skill plays. And he was drafted to make high skill plays. I realize he wasn't a top 5 pick, but he's still a first rounder. And his thing is going to be creating offensive zone chances for this team. He's been doing that a ton. And so I don't think it's a coincidence that along with this Morgan Frost hot streak, 7 points in his last 7 games, the power play has been far more successful. 6 power play goals in the last 7 games. They're 29% over that time frame. Obviously, when they bring in Jamie Drysdale, like, that's a bump, but he missed a couple of games there. He's only played in 3 of the 5 games he's been available for the Flyers. Is it Morgan Frost leading to this power play success? Is it just finally finding a combination that works? Why has the power play been better? And don't tell me it's just positive regression, because we've been over that plenty.
I mean, it is partially that. I do think I think they have a better plan now. I do. I think that they've clearly cleaned up a lot of the entry issues, which were a big problem the first part of the year. They're getting more pucks on net, and they're getting some bounces. And then I do think the impact of Drysdale has helped. The impact of Igor Zamula has helped. They have more stability up top. I just think that it's a combination of a lot of things. I do think that regression is part of it. They were bound to score some goals at some point. They're getting some bounces now. They're taking a lot of shots still from distance. They are. That is not the way that you create a, 28% power play. Like, you're not going to be top of the league with that strategy. But what it does allow for is it allows for you to potentially take advantage of good bounces. Take a shot, it bounces off of a guy's leg, it gets a good deflection, goalie doesn't see a shot, and then there's a big rebound that you can put in. Like, the Flyers on their power play are not going to be scoring a ton of super high skill goals. They're just not going to be able to do it. But if they're getting in the zone with regularity, if they're getting set up with regularity and efficiency, and then they're just firing away and they're generating a lot of shots, they're naturally going to score more goals than they were when they were doing 0 things right the first part of this year.
0 things right. I guess the last guy I wanted to talk to you about in terms of the grades you gave him is Cam Atkinson. Scores on the power play tonight, 3rd goal in the last 3 games. He has seemed like a much improved player since that scratching against the Columbus Blue Jackets, his old team.
9 shots on goal tonight.
9 shots on goal. He was shooterish. Yeah. No, he seemed dangerous tonight and has for the most part over the last couple of weeks. You graded him out for the first season as a C-. How big is it for this team to be getting anything out of Cam Atkinson?
It's huge, and it's funny. One of the people in my comment section actually said, like, he should have gotten the same grade as Lawton. And I do. I mean, fans always are going to run into this. There's a bit of recency bias. Like, Cam Atkinson, if I'm grading him on the entire first half, he was legitimately a really impactful player for the first month or so of the year, and that is part of the first half. Like, he scored, I think it was 8 goals in his first 15 games. And that was maybe him playing a little bit on adrenaline. Maybe the bounces were going his way, but he was a really impactful top 6 caliber forward for the first month and a half. Then for the next month and a half, he was essentially invisible, and at times even worse than invisible. He was actively a detriment to the Flyers winning games. It just seems like he's playing looser now. I think, honestly, the scratching of him worked really well because, as we talked about on the show, John Tortorella more or less said, I respect him too much and let him keep going down this path. And I don't think he meant keep going down the path of not scoring goals. What I think he meant was Atkinson's process was falling off a cliff. Atkinson was getting so frustrated that he wasn't doing the right things anymore. He was just cherry picking, hoping that a goal would just go his way because he's Cam Atkinson and he deserves it. And Tortorella was like, look, the way you were playing 2.5 weeks ago when you were getting a ton of shots and chances and you just weren't scoring, that was frustrating to me because you're a goal scorer and you got to score. But I wasn't worried about you. I'm worried about you now because now you're not doing anything that will allow you to score a lot of goals at the NHL level. Ever since that scratch, he went back to being the guy getting shots and chances who just wasn't scoring. And the thought process was, if the process stays strong, eventually the goals are going to come. I think that's what's happened. I think he got the process back on track. Now he's finally getting rewarded with the results. And then results breed better results because then you get confident. You feel better about yourself. And then you start having games where you get 9 shots on goal because you believe your shots are going to go in now.
I got a few more minutes here for you, Charlie, but first I got to take quick time out to tell all of our listeners about Rocket Money. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that finds and cancels your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps lower your bills. I can see all of my subscriptions in one place, and if I see something I don't want, I can cancel it with just a tap. I never have to get on the phone with customer service, which is a dream come true for me. And they'll even try to get you a refund for the last couple of months of wasted money and negotiate to lower your bills for you by up to 20%. All you have to do is take a picture of your bill, and Rocket Money takes care of the rest. Rocket Money has over 5 million users and has helped save its members an average of $720 a year with over $500 million in canceled subscriptions. Like I say, you have these subscription services. It's a couple bucks here, it's a couple bucks there, auto delivery stuff, streaming. You're like, oh, it's a few bucks. It all adds up. The average is $720 a year for Rocket Money users. So stop wasting money on things you don't use. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions by going to rocketmoney.com/PHLY. That's rocketmoney.com/PHLY. rocketmoney.com/PHLY. All right, Charlie. I guess we have to talk. No, I don't want to do that tonight either. So let's talk about Jamie Drysdale. Comes back into the lineup. I guess he is not a resident of Ellis Island. He is not disappearing. He's not dead. We have found him. We have confirmation of life. He comes in, plays over 18 minutes in his first game back. I texted you about a specific play he made, but first, I just want to ask, Jamie Drysdale returns. What did you think of number 9 in his first, the beginning of his second stint with the Flyers after a little vacation he took there?
Yeah, I thought he was good. I don't think he was incredible. I don't think this was a standout game in the sense that I watched and I felt like he was one of the 3 or 4 best Flyers on the ice. But I thought he was good. He skated well. There was one shift, I believe it was in the first period, with him and Sanheim, where they were just moving around the offensive zone for like a good 40 seconds, trading spots, and both being the plus skaters that they are. And you're like, damn, if this is a long-term pair, this is going to be miserable on the cycle for teams to defend, with these 2 defensemen both skating like good skating forwards and just flying around, circling the zone, then jumping down into a scoring area. I thought he was good. His underlying metrics in the game are more than solid. Now the Flyers obviously dominated puck possession in this game in general, but when Drysdale was on the ice, the Flyers controlled about 71% of the expected goals. Pretty damn good. So no complaints on the advanced stat side. I thought he had a strong game, and he didn't look any worse for the wear after missing a few due to illness, Phil. Illness. He was sick.
Charlie, I don't... just because I'm presenting someone's opinion, I want all opinions to be heard on this show. No, I'm like Pat McAfee, I'm just presenting you Aaron Rodgers and his crackpot nonsense, and you can do with that what you will. But I don't want to be accused of that's probably going to be the thing that blows up now. Someone's going to cut that part. But no, the play I asked you about specifically in a text during the game was Dallas scores in the second period to make it 2-1. Sean Walker is the guy who will be credited with the giveaway with the turnover on the play. He seemed a little casual to me on the play. Maybe he could have just been a little tougher on the puck. But the Flyers win a defensive zone faceoff. Jamie Drysdale looks like he's going to skate the puck behind the net. Maybe he's running out of room and just reverses it back up the right wing wall to Walker. And that's when the turnover occurs. Did you think maybe Drysdale could have skated it or wrapped it up the left wing wall, done something other than what he did, or that's just like, shit happens?
It was a little bit of an awkward play. I'm not going to deny that.
Just curious.
That said, I do pin more of the blame on Walker. I think Walker, while he didn't have a ton of time with the puck, he had enough time at the very least to chip it off, off the boards and further up and get it out of a dangerous area. To me, when I watched that play, it looked like the winger was a little bit late in trying to get over to the far boards to make himself an option for a rim around the boards pass. Look, this might be a situation where Drysdale makes a better decision if he's more familiar with the Flyers' defensive zone system, with what they do on breakouts, with responsibilities and things like that. That's very possible. But I didn't watch that goal and think that he was secretly the one primarily at fault. To me, yeah, he probably could have made a slightly smarter play with the puck. Maybe in retrospect, it would have been better if he just takes it into the corner and eats it, because at least then there isn't a turnover. But he can't predict that Walker is going to be a little slow making a decision with the puck. I think Walker had enough time to make a decision. It doesn't turn out the way it turns out. So I put most of the blame on Walker. Drysdale could have made a better decision, I guess. But I think Walker's the one in my mind who's most at fault there.
All I know is Dry Guy, the Fly Guy, he wants to be here, Charlie. And I'm not pushing that for any specific reason other than, for my own. You'll all see probably. Now, another dude you love, I want to talk about a bit for a minute. Noah Cates, second game back from a 7-week injury. He looked to be playing on the wing again tonight.
Yep, he mostly was. Yeah,
he was everywhere. Noah Cates. I don't know how we thought of this guy as a defense-only player, quite honestly. He looks like an offensive force at times, and I don't think it's a coincidence that you have Noah Cates in the lineup and the Flyers have one of their best forechecking games of the season, no?
That's a really good point. I didn't even think of the forechecking element, but yeah, he definitely brings that, and he brought that on more than a few shifts in this game. You're just being strong along the boards, wreaking havoc as the F1. So I think that absolutely is a really good observation on your part. He was really active, especially in the first period. I mean, there were a couple plays where he could have scored. Look, Noah Cates is going to have to score some points if we're going to say that he can be an offense guy. And I'm a big Noah Cates fan. I talked to him after the morning skate today, and I basically asked, look, like, maybe one of the reasons why you were struggling at the beginning of the year is because you were trying to add that offense to your game. Now that you're back, you can kind of use this as like a fresh start, almost a new season. But are you coming in with the intention of injecting that offense right away, or do you kind of want to get back to basics and then maybe add it when you're fully comfortable? And he said, yeah, like, look, I know what my strengths are. I know what I want to ultimately add to my game, but in the here and now, trying to get over a 7-week layoff, basically starting the season over, that he's going to play to his strengths. And I think his strengths are smart plays with the puck, good forechecking along the boards, and just being in the right spot. And I thought tonight he had all those things, in addition to the fact that he had jump. And I think, some of this is just adrenaline. He wants to make up for lost time. And I respect the hell out of that. He missed a good portion of the first half of the season. He knows he only has a second half to really put his stamp on the 2023-2024 season. And I think these first two games, you've seen a guy who wants to make up for lost time, and I respect the hell out of that.
Charlie, I guess now, without further ado, it is time for Mr. O'Connor's 3 stars of the game. You, of course, were on 3-star duty at the Wells Fargo Center for Flyers Stars tonight. So I will allow you to be the professional broadcaster I know you have in you and recycle the content, because that's what it's all about, baby. And give us, it's time for your 3 stars. Let's start it with number 3.
Yeah, well, they're all guys we've talked about already. My 3rd star was Cam Atkinson. I just thought that, that third period goal was essential to locking down this win. Because if you continue to give the Dallas Stars life, only down 1 goal after basically playing crap hockey for the first 40 minutes, all it takes is one bad bounce and suddenly you might lose this game. The fact that Atkinson was able to come through with that big goal early in the third, because from that point on, the Flyers just completely took control. I don't know if they take control of the third period if Atkinson doesn't score that goal, because then suddenly you're giving Dallas hope. with that goal, they gave Dallas no hope at all. It was over. With the way that Dallas is playing, with the way the Flyers are playing, there's no way they're coming back from a 2-goal deficit. And that 2-goal deficit ultimately turns into a 4-goal deficit because Dallas just realized this wasn't our night. Baggins doesn't score there. Maybe they think, maybe this could be our night. And I thought not only was that goal essential to locking down this win, I thought he just had a good game all around. I said earlier, 9 shots on goal. He was active all game. I thought he was physical, not in the sense of throwing big hits, but I thought he was engaged. He was battling for pucks. I really like to see that from Cam Atkinson. I think that's what he's doing when he's playing his best hockey. I just thought he was a no-brainer choice for the third star of this game.
I was wondering what number 3 would be. I think Cam Atkinson is a great choice for it. Let's get star number 2.
Star number 2, Owen Tippett. Owen Tippett was already going to be one of my 3 stars even before he gets that ridiculous highlight reel goal. He locked himself in as the number 2 star after he gets that ridiculous highlight reel goal. He had a good game. And he had 2 absolutely fantastic plays. I don't think this was as dominant all around of a game compared to the one he had in St. Louis, where I thought he was the best player on the ice from start to finish. But I thought he had a few shifts where he looked like the best player on the ice. And obviously that goal he scored in the third period, he certainly looked like the best player on the ice, period. And given some of the guys that are on the other side for Dallas, that's pretty damn impressive because they have some all-stars on that team. Tippett's rolling. He's got 6 goals in his last 6 games. He's just feeling it. And he's my number 2 star.
And now this might be a little anticlimactic. You've already called him the best player on the ice tonight. Star number 1.
Yeah, Morgan Frost, my number 1 star. There's some people on Twitter giving me a little bit of crap for making him number 1 over Owen Tippett. My thing is that, you know what, Morgan Frost made the plays when the game was still in doubt. He made the big plays. Owen Tippett had the highlight reel goal. Morgan Frost, if we're talking about this in baseball terms, I think Morgan Frost had more win probability at it than Owen Tippett did, because it was Morgan Frost's plays that I think locked down this win for the Flyers much more than Owen Tippett's highlight reel goals. Not saying that second goal for Owen Tippett wasn't important, because it was. By the second goal, I don't mean his second goal. I mean the second goal of the game. That goal off the faceoff was great. But I thought Frost, on a shift-by-shift basis, was fantastic tonight. And I think he's just as much as Tippett kind of riding the high of this groundswell of confidence that he has right now.
Charlie, I love it. I love when you do something a little controversial because it's attention for us. That's outstanding. And Morgan Frost, quite honestly, he might have been you might be right. He might have been the first star tonight, despite Owen Tippett's 2 goals. So I think I might agree with you, quite honestly.
Heyo.
We'll see. Maybe I'll watch this one again. I'll probably just go home and have a few beers. Before I let you go, one semi-controversial moment tonight on the ice, the Scott Laughton penalty shot goal. When it happened in real time, I thought he might have moved backwards. When I saw the replay, I think it was clean. What did you think?
Honestly, I know people complain about this sometimes. I think the officials give the players a pretty wide, berth on this, where you have to be really obviously taking the puck backwards or stopping entirely or whatever to actually get whistled on that. It has to be blatant. I don't think this was blatant. I think this was borderline. Laughton actually said after the game, we asked about it, he said that the officials did come over and talk after the goal to Tortorella and the Flyers about it, but they let it stand. I just think that, look, it's hard enough to beat goalies on a breakaway in a shootout, to be honest with you. To me, if it's in doubt, give the shooter some slack, because it's real hard to beat these goalies these days, man.
It certainly is, and it's real hard to beat Jake Ottinger. Flyers did it 5 times tonight in a 5-1 win. Charlie, we will be back. I will see you again on Saturday and Sunday for back-to-back post games matinees. 1 o'clock starts down at the Wells Fargo Center against Colorado and Ottawa. I will talk to you then, my friend. Have a great Thursday and Friday.
All right. Sounds good. Thanks, Bill.
That was Charlie O'Connor down at the Wells Fargo Center live after covering the game. He had 3-star duty amongst the beats tonight and then gave us the 3 stars. I love it. I absolutely love it. Something else I love, that I am just the biggest fan of FOCO, baby, because FOCO has the absolute best officially licensed gear for all sports and fandoms. Whether you're looking for team apparel for the season ahead, You know, they have the overalls, they have hoodies, hats, sunglasses, bags, anything you need for game day, or maybe you need some accessories, toys, collectibles, or novelty items for your man cave, she shed, or podcast set. You've got to use FOCO for all your team gear needs. FOCO always has our back for Philly sports, and they have yours too. Get the best gear around by using the link in the description of this show. And for all non-presale items, use promo code PHLY10. That's promo code PHLY10 for 10% off at FOCO today. I actually just made use of an item I got from FOCO recently. I told you a couple shows ago, I have a little bit of a lawn gnome collection. I want my house to be weird. Like, I want people to drive by it or come up, like Uber drivers, like Uber Eats guys, to come up on the porch and be like, weird people live here. That's what I want. I have a Phillies lawn gnome that I put out on the porch today. It's like in the snow next to my ashtray. He's having a great time. He's partying. And you can only get those at FOCO. Who doesn't love a Phillies lawn gnome, man? It's not that long till pitchers and catchers. I bet you they have a Flyers one. If they don't, FOCO, what are you doing? Get on it. Anyway, FOCO, PHLY10 for 10% off. It's about an hour there. I don't want to go too much longer. I got Andrew here. I got Brenna here. They want to get the hell home. So do I. This was a huge win for the Flyers. Big weekend coming up now. They have Colorado Saturday afternoon. We know what kind of game that's going to be. I think Colorado's 10-2 in their last 12, something like that. And Ottawa, it's Claude Giroux, man. Claude Giroux almost single-handedly beat the Flyers earlier in the season, so that'll always be fun. We'll be back for both of those 1 o'clock starts at the Wells Fargo Center, so plan accordingly to join us for postgame. Until then, thank you very much to Charlie O'Connor. Thanks to my producers who helped us along the way. My name is Bill Matz. This is PHLY Flyers, presented by Mortgage CS. Check out mortgagecs.com/PHLY to start your home buying process today. Company NMLS ID number 1464766. All right, that's it. Have a happy Friday, Philadelphia. My name's Bill Matz. Take it easy.